this a couple more times and I'll learn how to start it myself. Okay, well, we're back, I hope. There was apparently some sort of software update that decided to just turn everything off, and it did. So that update's complete. Everything got rebooted and reset, and we're starting late. Sorry about that. But anyway, that's what happened. We're doing today is continuing to work on the touch-up of the cut stone and rough stone dungeon tiles. The rough stone one, and we'll see this a little bit later, is related to like a necromancer lair, and the cut stone one is like a wizard or mage lair. And I'll show you some other pieces that go with that as we proceed. So what I'm going to be doing is taking these pieces that have been primed earlier and then painted with a base coat of a blue color. And I'm going to be doing things like getting down in there, just catching these spots that, particularly the gaps between the blocks, and hitting those with some blue paint, the same color blue to touch them up. The next step is going to be to take all of these, and there are a lot of them, and paint in accent bricks with a brown color. So there'll be kind of like a random selection of bricks, blocks that'll be painted brown so that it's not so monotonous. And then all of this will be given a wash, a gray wash, that will make it look very lively, like very live stone. So these dungeon tiles are actually pretty cool. And a little bit later, I'll show you how they work. Right now, I'm going to get started on doing more touch-up. These are all the ones here, a pile of them that I need to do. So see me putting blue paint on white spots. I got about, I think, a little more than half of them done. I'm just mixing up paint here. More than half of them done on today after I finished up the stucco on the wooden ones. So this is the blue paint. This is what we're painting. Hopefully I'll keep it mostly on screen. And see how today goes. Glasses so I can see up close. And the downside of this, since I've got trifocals, is in order to see up close, I can't see far away. But we have this really nice other monitor that shows the chat screen, and every once in a while I'll remember to look up and see if anybody is chatting in the chat. So we get started a little late today. I might end a little early. When I get all the touching up done, and it comes time to paint the accent blocks, there had been some discussion about trying to do them like just set up one pattern and then replicate that pattern similar. So all the single walls would have the same accent blocks and so on. And thinking we might have been able to do that yesterday between the Monday and the Wednesday stream, but other things happened and that didn't happen. So I might end up, when I get to the point of painting those accent bricks, I might just do a couple, like maybe some doorways where, you know, it doesn't much, there's only a couple of them. And I can just make up some sort of pattern just to see how the paint flows and how that's working. And then just wait till Nikki and Alexis are available again. Get together and decide on how the accent blocks will actually be painted. So I'm rotating these around because you can't see that at all. But I turn it like this, and there it is. Okay. To look at it from the other directions as well. Spending some time rotating these things around, trying to make sure that I'm catching, especially looking at it from the top and the side, that I'm catching the white spots that didn't get covered when the base coat was put on. As you can see, there's a lot of surface area. And in this particular case, the base coat was brushed on, like about 60 of these blocks, floors and things. And, you know, when you're doing that many, it's kind of likely that you just might miss some spots. Or the other thing that happens sometimes is that, like with this little dot here, is it isn't so much the paint got missed, but as it dries, it shrinks and it might just pull away and make a white dot. So I might not get these out perfect, but you know, touch up the things that are obvious, because the obvious things are the ones that will show the most after the wash is on. This is a very deep chasm there. Surprised the paint got down in there at all. I think he did a good job with the base coat doing that. Getting paint on my fingers. In most cases, that's a bad thing, like it was when I was doing the stucco. I'd get stucco color on my fingers, and then it would get on the wood, and then I have to touch up the wood. It was a mess, but everything here is the same color. So if I get a little bit of paint on the finger and then I touch something, I'm touching it with the same color paint that's already there. Once it creates on my finger, I'm not terribly concerned about that. It's mainly just the ease of rotating these things so that I can see the spots that need to be painted. This is a very much raised floor. I'll show you. This is usually the floor level. There's steps that go up. And there's like a little dais there. Yeah, it's a throne that goes on it. It's one of the special pieces that go along with this set. And we actually even have made rugs, real fabric rugs that are printed and cut to shape that we could lay on the floor. So when these sets are completed, they're very impressive. So the ones I'm working on here are kind of like pre-designed sets. I mean, they are meant to be a certain thing with certain pieces and a certain orientation, but as I'll show you a little bit later, if you were to have a set like this and you were to buy another set of cut stone, you can very easily reconfigure them in many, many different ways very quickly, because the bases of all of these under here have little ball magnets and they stick. You don't need to put them on like a special metal plate or something. Can use any surface at all and just rearrange them anyway you might want to. Really pretty, very cool thing. That is a feature of these tiles. So they not only really look good, but they're very easy to mix and match and reconfigure. The more you have, the more stuff you can do with them. These days, they might even be made available for sale. We're looking seriously, since they're so cool, at making them available for the people who are watching and love to play Dungeons and Dragons and like to have really nice sets, you know, not just like a grid board or something, but three-dimensional dungeons that they can walk around in and work in, fight in, and explore. We're hoping someday we might be able to make these available for sale. And one option would be to have them all hand painted like this. Yep, I will do a flip for you as soon as I finish this one. Okay, what shall we flip? I will flip the cap to the paint box. Multiple flips. There we go. Hope you're doing well today. I'm continuing to touch up the base coat on the two sets that we've got going. One is a cut stone set and the other is a rough stone set. Stone set is like a mage's room. Yeah. Rough stone set is like a necromancer. It's actually a crypt taken over necromancer. Getting some of the white spots here where the base coat was put in and didn't quite touch everything, especially down in the cracks here where you want it dark and in between the blocks. And the thing is, you know, to just rotate it in many different directions. See that before? two fairly large sets. Features of each one that I'll demonstrate after I get most of this touch-up done. And then we'll get to the special blocks for each of the sets. And it's a pretty cool thing. You won't be able to see them because they're just painted in primer right now, but you'll get an idea of how they work. In about a week or so, when these sets, the accent blocks are all done and they are washed, bring out the liveliness of the stone so they don't just look like monochrome blue things. You'll see both of the sets. This bit here is probably the most important part. When you look down onto the floor, you want the space between the floor tiles to look black. And the base coat needs to get down into it. What we're going to try to do next, actually, is just like the primer, is to spray on the base coat. It's it uses a little more paint than brushing because there's always some overspray. Aim like right into these gaps between the stones that the base, that the spray will get in there and cover it. And it'll be much, much faster than doing these all by brush. You can see, even with, just as I'm touching up, how much surface area there has been already just on the blocks that I've been doing so far. Nicole is the one who had painted the base coat on these things, and I have no idea how long it took. It must have been quite an effort. It was done while I was on vacation. Just looking at this, I'm not touching up too terribly much. So she did an admirable job of getting the paint into and onto all of the surfaces. Some of these little gaps and things will disappear when the wash goes on. And the wash hopefully will get into some of these nooks and crannies and, make them look a little darker, that kind of thing. But you don't know for sure. Search around after this to see how much more of this blue paint we have left. I think this might be the last jar. And there's more than enough for the touch-up because I'm using just little dots of it, basically. But if we were to do another whole set, could run through like 2 of these pretty quickly. Deciding on some standard colors for these sets. It'll be important to keep the paint that we need in stock, especially if we start using the spray, the airbrush to do that. Go through a lot of paint pretty quickly, airbrushing base coats onto multiple dungeon sets. And even if we use the airbrush, it'll probably still take a little bit of time, to inspect them. You always have to have inspection, quality control kind of inspection thing. Make sure that they're right, especially if we were to sell these. Someone wanted to buy a set, they would want to make sure that it was good quality. Getting closer to the and I apologize for the late start. Got started right on time today. I mean, right on time. Usually like a few minutes late, but this time it was right on time. And one of the drivers for one of the, I think it was the video card, decided that it needed to update. And it just did. It just started the update. The update turned everything off because it restarted the computer. And we had to basically reboot everything and start from scratch. So it ended up, instead of being like 1 minute early, ended up being 20 minutes late. Thank you, automatic software updates. I'm leaving some of these spots on the surface of the floor because sometimes stone floors actually have specks in them. I think they might be like little microflex or something. So I'm thinking, the wash will cover that kind of, but it might actually be kind of interesting. Okay, so we've got a couple things left here, but before I dive into those, coffee mug. Getting paint off of the coffee. That's the Dice and Dungeons. There it is. Dice and Dungeons mug that has a paint splat on it. So this particular one is an arch, and the filament kind of built up around this because actually there's no support underneath that part. So I'm going to get a file and get rid of that before I do the touching up. Continue to put paint on the mug. So I want to show you some of these cool things though. This is a cauldron. And it doesn't look like much right now because it's not painted metallic, but it could be painted like steel color or gold or brass or bronze. Okay. Copper with a green patina on it or something. So for this particular set, which is like a mage, I showed you this before. You walk in, and 3 of the walls have this sigil on them. So this is a fire element magic area, and example, have walls like this, and then okay, you might have a room that looks like this, and it's got a fire sigil on it, and that'll be painted in all sorts of nice flamey colors. We've done a prototype of that. It looks really cool, and you'll have this cauldron in the room. And the thing about this cauldron, if you look, there's this hole in the center, is that there's actually a flame, a painted flame, that when it's activated by whoever is running this particular thing, the flame appears. The DM just puts it in. And so you go from a empty cauldron to a magic is done, and a flame is put in there now. We're going to also be doing them with the other 3 elements. There'll be an earth, a water, and an air. Eventually, we got sigils. We'll have the same sort of cauldron in the middle, but the thing that comes up out of it, instead of a flame, will be like a fountain, blue and white for water, kind of white and off-white for air, maybe a cloud kind of thing. And earth, it might be like a spike, stalagmite or something like that. So that's one of the cool things about this particular set, is you get these wonderful accent pieces with it that after they're painted look really impressive. So that's that. The one on the rough tone stone set is really, really cool. This is a pool. So for like the rough stone set, you might have, I'm just pulling these out so you can see how they work. Around it like that. Maybe a door coming in, the kind of thing. But this pool, you can see there's little bubbles in it. The way this works is that a base color is put in, and we have used purple for a necromancy kind of thing. That's kind of I think, standard. We have used green for like a slime pool. We have used red for a blood pool, if you're doing blood magic in here. So you put a base coat in, and then you use this stuff called water, liquid water. Yeah. It's kind of a liquid plastic that you pour in. It's transparent and glossy, and you put different colors in it. Like with the red one, you'd put 2 different colors of red, a light red and a dark red, maybe a little bit of black, and then mix it around so it looks like it's swirling and bubbling. And eventually then the plastic water will set, and it will look like liquid. You know, really look like there's bubbling liquid in the pool of whatever form you decided you wanted to use. And we've done a couple of those, and they look just really amazing. So these are like the second to the last blocks that I'll be touching up, but I wanted to show them to you special to explain what they are and why. And what I'm most interested in is the gaps between the stones, because I want to make sure that those are dark. Let's get into them fully. And that might turn them black, but sometimes the wash doesn't flow in. I would want to make sure that just have like this white spots jumping out at us. along here with the touch up. Looks like there's some spots on the outside here. As I rotate this, those are actually really hard to see from the top. I mean, you have to turn it up on edge and rotate it in order to get down, see into those. But if you were, looking at it from the side, they might show up on camera or to your players. Checking it around. Trying to find a place to put it. This will be painted down here, the cauldron. I'm not sure what metallic color will be used on this. We've done some in brass, and that looks really pretty good. Kind of a dark brass, not the bright brass. Recently got a bronze color, which is a little bit darker. Still metallic, and it looks pretty good. We could do it in like a silver or a steel color. We have good metallics for those. We could even do it in copper. We have a very nice metallic copper. And I might recommend that we actually do that with this one, because it looks pretty good. I think it would look good with the flame. So that's another one of those things where I will have to do a consult with Nikki and Alexis before that's painted in. Right now I'm just doing the touch up, and I can see why these didn't get painted originally. It's really kind of difficult to get the paint into these little cracks right around the edges of the cauldron. Okay, that's good. So yeah, we'll see what color we'll paint that. And then I'm just going to cap this up just briefly, because I need to get the files out, and I need to fix the filaments that formed under the arch here. Let's to get rid of that. And that might take a little while. I'm not going to do the touch up before I do that, because I almost certainly will get it all over my hands. I use this is a round one. I have a handle for these, but for this kind of job, I don't think I need it. Shouldn't be sticking on too hard. Some of it will just break off by poking it. It's basically loose filament. Good deal of it off. And then when I get most of it off, I can use the file to make the bottom of this stone. See how this is smooth here? Maybe you can see it here. The bottom of that keystone on the arch to be smooth as well. Get rid of all this excess plastic here. Side easier. A lump there. Start. This is actually square. Thought it was round. This one's pretty good. It's obviously been used with paint before, but it's got a flat side and a round side, and this round is kind of matches the arch pretty well. Just gonna pile away at this for a while. It is smooth. and matches the surface that we want. We've got a nice edge I can use to get into the spaces between stones. So, yeah. Put that on the floor for somebody to vacuum sometime in the future. It's coming along pretty well. Unlikely that someone will be looking directly up into the arch, but it is likely that someone would be looking at it from the side. I want to make sure that it looks good. And I'm going to use my finger to kind of feel if there's still rough edges or not. Yeah, between the stones filed in. There. I mean, if you look at it now, it's gone. The blob is gone, and it looks pretty decent. Looks like it came together very well. There's just a few little spots. Yeah, these are not really even attached. Just get rid of those. Okay, so that's fixed. Now I can do the touch up on that. Move along. Down, it's just bare plastic now. There isn't very much of it, so I can paint it without the primer on it. But I definitely want the base coat to be on there. This one, some of the nooks and crannies are actually kind of hard to get to. Yeah, so as I'm doing that, I'm seeing that there are some other bits of plastic there that really should you really can't see them very well, but like right here in the gap between these two stones, there's basically a blob. Looks good. And back here, right here, between those two stones is another little blob that I can file off. So it wasn't much, but you know, it's that kind of detail that sometimes is the difference between, oh, this is a really, really, really nice set, or this is a pretty nice set. And we're going for really, really, really nice. All right. So, yeah. All of those tiles are now touched up, at least like 98% good, which is pretty nice. And the rest of it will be taken care of with the wash that's put on it later. Yeah. All sorts of paint in the little grooves for the cap, making it hard to get on. Yeah. Without a doubt, even harder to get off when the time comes to do it again. But I'm not going to take the time to clean that now. So the thing that is to be done next is to start painting accent blocks. And these are going to be a brown color. I'll just let me grab something like this. Okay, I think there's maybe two of these, maybe. Let's see, find them. I'm going to do those. I'm going to do the inside corners, do the doorways, do the window. I'm going to do, basically what I'm going to do are the ones for which we just have just a few, okay? Because what we've talked about doing is, like with these walls, there's a fair number of these walls, is having the same pattern on each one. And we haven't talked about what pattern that might be, whether we really want to do that, or whether we just want to kind of just pick them at random as we paint, which is what we've done in the past. Haven't really talked about that yet. And so I'm just going to paint the ones where that's not so much of an issue. There's a lot of these inside corners, but all there is like this little pillar. And I'm going to do each one of those the same, because that's what we talked about doing. The inside corners, I'm just going to grab two. Anyway, yeah. Inside corners, doorways, single and double door. The window, there's just one of those. So I can do that any way I want, because there's only one of them. And yeah, there's the other arrow. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these that I only have one of, and start to paint accent blocks so you can just see what that looks like. It only goes on the walls. It doesn't go on the floor. And I'm moving things around because everything, the work area is getting smaller all the time. So I'm just going to grab some of that paint that we decided to use, get it in the palette. We decided to use this thing called dark sand, which is a really nice brown color. It dries pretty. I'm going to just paint some of these just to show what it looks like. And then I am going to take a short break a little early and do a consult while they are still here before they go off to their appointment. At 11, so I still got plenty of time. And ask if they really want to do the same pattern on each one, or whether I should just grab just mark stones and paint them. I'm not sure it's easier one way or the other. Anyway, I just want to show you how one of these works. I'm not going to need too much of this. I'm going to be painting maybe like 4 of these blocks. The main trick is to make sure that if I paint one on the front, I paint the same one on the back. So I'm going to mark some here. Mark those 4. Those are the ones I'm going to paint. And we'll see how it looks. And then I'll show it. I'm going to take a break after I'm done with this and show it to DM and say, how does this pattern look? Because if it doesn't, if it doesn't look good, then just repaint it in the base color. And get a final statement, a final go about whether we're going to try to do same pattern on each of like the balls. Yeah. Just kind of grab blocks sort of randomly on each one. But what I managed to do there, touching everything up, managed to get paint adjacent block. Easy to match. Okay. Okay. So I've got a lot of paint here. So what I'm going to do is take another one like this inside corner. And I'm going to paint a couple of accent blocks on this. And then take the inside corner up and say, do we want them all the same or different? So like I might paint this one and this one. And maybe they'll all be the same. Or maybe we might have an inside corner with just like one painted or something. Personally, I don't think it takes much more time to do it. I like them to not all be the same. Yeah, all the same. I think it's better when they're different. So make that suggestion, and we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm going to take an early break after I use up this brown paint and get an opinion about accent bricks. Definitely do that before I start painting a whole bunch of them. You know, it's not that terribly hard to just repaint it if they don't look good. But not having to do something is way easier than doing something. It'd be needing that much to be painting a lot of these. So that's an inside corner. That fix this up too. And what do we have a lot of? These walls. So I'm going to paint one. Just as an example. And then ask if they want them all to look the same, whether we should make the walls different. The only tricky part, really, not terribly tricky, but it's sort of tricky, regardless of whether the pattern is the same on each one or different, is make sure we get the same blocks on the front and the back. Yeah, like that. Paint the back. And that was like those. Let's splish the paint around. We don't want it kind of moments there. Well, that was good. I managed to get paint all over this finger somehow. So it's going to be a good time to take a break anyway, so that I could wash that off figure out why I'm spreading paint if I don't want it. And this one goes across the top. And this is working out okay. I'm pretty much using up the paint that I had squeezed out. Some back. Got it. Painting this on the top, and then I'll see if I can clean it off or whether I need to touch it up. Touch that and touch that. That was lovely. Okay, so there's accent blocks. So what I'm actually going to do is pull out the blue paint again, and just, to make sure that this demo one looks good, is I'm going to touch that up, because I think it's dried too much to be able to wipe off. And trying to go out of my way to clean this bottle cap off when I come back down. So yeah, I'm just going to paint back over that. And actually just a tiny bit, I don't know if it's too wet, but yeah, painted in a little more than I wanted it to. Okay. So that's those are blocks. I'm going to check out these patterns with the bosses to see what they say about whether there should be more, whether there should be less, whether we should use the same pattern on all of them, or whether just go random. Whether we can do this without touching a lot of paint on it. Okay, so an early break. But I need to do this in order to go forward. Unpainted examples as well as painted ones. I need to do this before going forward with too many more of these. So I'm going to be back. This will be a short break, probably about 10 minutes. See you soon. Okay, so it is a doubly good thing that I checked upstairs because one, yes, we are going to just do random rather than doing the same pattern on each one. These patterns got the okay, at least as the first time around. But despite the fact that the colors are very carefully noted on a piece of paper over here about what color should go with which, I picked the wrong one. I was using dark sand, and I'm supposed to use cork brown. So, Amy screwed that up. So what I'm going to need to do is find the right color. I very carefully picked the wrong colors on Monday. Oh, right. We had that one out, but I guess not. So you're going to watch me look around. I got it right off. Cork brown. This is actually going to look much better. And we're going to see the contrast because these are getting pretty close to being dry. This was the first one I did. That's good. And this was the second one. So I'm going to get this one nicely mixed up. Get my brush out, clean it off, pour that paint out, squeeze some out, and repaint the thing that I messed up. I thought this looked too light. I didn't think it was looking very good. This will look much better, I promise. So I'm going to probably end a little early today. I'm going to go for like another hour and 15 minutes or so. Early, depending on how this is going, or take a longish kind of break in a little more than an hour. This is much darker color. Start with that amount, and it makes it pretty easy to see which ones need to be painted because I'm painting over the color that I got wrong. And you can see right away that it's a darker color and actually a much richer color. It looks much better against the blue than the thing that I used. So yeah, triply good idea to have triply checked. It's doing because I got an amount of it wrong. I don't know how that happened. And the brush wasn't anywhere near there, and I managed to get paint on the blue. So basically what we're going to see is how well I'm painting today. Touch up. It's not very demanding because it was basically just putting the same color on top of the other color, and it was virtually impossible to mess up. And as I had mentioned, even getting my finger in the paint wasn't a problem because it was the same color as everything else was. But this, already, I managed to slop paint into places I didn't want it 3 times and got my finger into the paint completely once. So this might be a day. It might be one of those days. That, yeah, it's going to be that. Now, one thing I could probably do is put it on a handle, but I found when I was doing a touch-up even that it was really awkward. Pretty much what I need to do is just try to be careful. We'll see how that works. Okay, now look at that. That is a much better color. I'm glad I checked. I know huge difference between the two, and that matches the blue really well, whereas this very nice but inappropriate color did not. I am managing to touch the surface like that. I mean, it should be virtually impossible to do that. But I'm doing the extremely difficult thing of messing up in ways that should be very difficult to mess up. That might be one of the reasons this is going to end early today. We'll see if I continue, if this gets better or worse as it goes along. The same pattern thing was part of a conversation about what others do with their tiles, where everything looks the same. And we decided that it really doesn't look good. And so to have each one different is a much better option, and that's what we're going to be doing. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate that. There's 3 more of these inside corners. So I'm just going to grab one here. You can see how this was painted. And how it's possible to simply pick it up. And where there's paint all over it. Okay. So like on this one, I might just do 1. Next one, I'm going to do the one at the very top and pick one of the other ones. So there'll be 2, but the top will be 1. But sometimes you want the accent color to show, if you're looking at it from the top, you want to be able to see the accent color from above. That's my touch. So there's 2 of them. And let's see, here's another one. So this one I'm going to do the top one, and probably this one. Again, just so that they're different. There's only like 6 blocks on these things, so there aren't too many options. After I do these, I will have painted collectively 5 of the 6. So maybe on the last one, I'll just do the one that hadn't been painted on any of the others. Just, you know, just to be different. I might paint that one and the one next to it. So there's like 2. The accent block adjacent to each other, one above the other. This is pretty good. I'm staying mainly on camera. That's always something that I have to be watching for. I tend to move pieces around, especially minifigs. Okay, in this case, I need to remember to paint the very top because the top block is one that has to be painted. So look at these three together. The one that hasn't been painted yet is the third, this one. The question is, do I just do one? Or I do two? What I want to do is two right together. So actually, even though, yeah, I'm just going to paint these two. Just have one. And what I'm trying to do for the most part is leave the dark blue between the blocks because I want that to be dark. Getting this accent color paint down into the cracks between, which should at least theoretically be pretty easy because this is raised up like at least a 32nd of an inch, which is a lot of clearance. And I should be able to just paint the surface and not get the brush down inside. Just like since there's a gap between the stones, it should be at least theoretically possible to paint one without getting it onto the adjacent stone. Which I am doing most of the time, but managed to also not do a couple of times. Anyway, there. So I'm just going to show you these four. These are inside corners. The accent blocks. On my monitor, it looks a lot more yellow, kind of orange than they really are. It's really a nice brown color. So I'm going to take these and put them way over here in the, yeah, that's a done pile. This is how this one turned out. That's the only one like it. So that's pretty decent. And the other one I painted in the wrong color was one of the rough blocks. I'm going to repaint this one. And then after that, I don't know. What I might do is just focus on the rough blocks and get as many of those done as I can. And what we're aiming at is having 3 to 5. This one has 5. 3 to 5 of these accent color blocks on each wall. So like if there was a corner, and there are a bunch of corners, you know, we would have between 6 and 10 because there's 2 walls on a corner. Did I get? Good grief. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull the blue paint out before I finish this one and touch that up because I got a whole bunch of it on there. Which is okay. I'm gonna finish this one. And I'm gonna get the blue paint out again. And I'm actually going to take some time and clean off because it's not sealing. drop. We'll see how this goes. That was less of a drop and more of a bubble. Here, this is okay. That's really weird. Oh, how the blue paint got on that, I do not understand. This one's taking. This is going to take a little bit more work as I do a bunch of repairs on it. I mean, there's paint away from me, up to there. So I'm going to do all of these blocks side away from me first, and then flip it around and bring the paint back toward me on the other side. This is going to require, maybe I should do all three of them. This one is going to require a fair amount of touching up, but I did squeeze out a fair amount of paint. So I'm going to keep this one right in front of me. And after I've used up the cork paint that I have out, then I will pull the blue paint out again and do the massive touch up that this one is going to require. Okay, well, at least I got it the right color. Here's another one. What I'm going to do is just pick a couple. Pick some, do like 4 on this one. Do one on the edge here, and this one up there. The other side, it will be there and there. Down there. And, we'll just continue painting the desert random, not really random. Scattered around kind of stones. I think I'm going to do rough stone walls. Maybe get all of them done. Done one of the dungeon sets before doing the other one. The touch up was just kind of, however they were all mixed together. So I just painted them as I grabbed them. This one, they're all spread out all over the work surface here. So pick out the ones that I want. And go to the side and we'll paint in this direction. Because I'm going to be working on kind of the edge of the work table here. And again, I was very lucky. I triple checked all of this because not only was I going to get the pattern wrong, but I had made a fundamental error of actually getting the color written down on the color chart that we had all decided to use. That one, touch it. Here. Here. Under, made a mess of both of these. We'll be doing a fair amount of blue touch-up because I just can't seem to keep my fingers out of the cork. And I think this edge right there. So I'm going to do these 4 on this one. Just keep painting until I've finished using this cork paint that I squeezed out on the palette. Pull the blue out because there's just a lot of touching up to be done on the 2 that I've done so far. Because I've done 2 and I messed up 2. Adding 1,000 today. Nice, huh? But not in a good way. These are easy to mark. The other one is to the third one in and one above it right in the middle. Okay. Again, wanting to get them the same on each side because we want these sets to look really cool and good. And if a block is painted on one side, it should be painted on the other because it's the block that is a different color. So it just looks like one is being sloppy. From this one is if I hold it in the base here, there will be no brown paint there because I'm painting no accent blocks on the bottom, on the floor, just on the walls. So, holding my breath here for a moment, may be able to finish one. Without having sloppy paint all over it. Yay. Here, a nice curved one. Curved one. Need to be just way more cut stone. Here's the rough stone. I knew there were a bunch of them. So these have to be kept here because they need massive touching up. These, holding them at the bottom. So, need one on the top, and you'll need to take a whole lot of time to decide where they go. Just poke a paint spot. You know, in reality, if someone's just kind of grabbing stones, they're not going out of their way. Just don't want them like all bunched together or something so that they look doofus. Kind of spread them around. Sometimes it's good to put like 2 or 3 in a cluster. That would be, that would happen in the stonework. Is say there would be a big chunk of it that fell out or broke or something. Basically, what we're trying to do here with these accent blocks is just make it look interesting. At least so that I can obviously stick it in the wet paint. Like I probably just enough paint to finish this one. Enough to do like one other block, but see how much is left there. Like do a block on a doorway or something, but for the most part, it looks like there's just enough to do this. Couldn't get very far without doing that. And I just need to finish touch here. See if I can get this done here. Just barely enough. If I push it on my brush to finish this cap block here. And then I'll look around, make sure I didn't really miss anything. There, I managed to get paint there and there somehow. Yeah, so basically, I managed to make a mess of 3 of 4. I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to clean the brush here because that paint is out and it's getting sticky. Pull the blue paint out again and touch up the mess that I made on these 3. And then proceed with yet more of the rough stone. The opportunity to yeah, fix the things I did. Okay, well, that's that one. Here we go. Here we go. And we'll fix this last one. So is that we don't need to do that anymore because I'm not going to keep making messes. Keep going here for another, like 45 minutes or so. I should be able to get a bunch of these done. Let's go here. I'm going to do these three here. And that might just be enough. Let's leave it at that. Okay, so this one here and here. And then the third level down, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in. And that one, and then okay. That's where I tend to get my finger into it most, is down the sides. Excuse me. Down into the crevice there. Usually doesn't happen. This paint is pretty viscous. Anyway, it did. And so that's how it will be. Basically, you want the paint to be just thin enough to spread easily and just thick enough to stay where you put it. And right out of the bottle, or the squeeze bottle, as the case may be, these paints tend to behave nicely that way. Okay, so there is that one. Do some round ones. These are a little bigger, so I think I could do maybe like 6 on here. Like I do this and this one up here. Gather one there. And here. and up there on the end. This will be here. And down. Over here, it's and a little one above it, and then like that. Okay. It got colder here. We put a new humidifier in last spring. It tends to get pretty dry when it's cold, and the sump pump keeps running, which means that there's a lot of water flowing through the humidifier. Still, the house is kind of dry. We have these portable humidifiers that we'll probably be pulling out now, because with the temperature plummeting this weekend, like down in the teens at night, we're going to want to get more water in the air. It's one of the reasons I think I'm sniffling is, the air's just really dry. In the summer, we were at least inside, the air conditioner running and all. We were running like around 60% or something. This humidifier pumps up to 45, and that's as high as the setting goes, which is kind of like minimally comfortable, really. So at least in some areas of the house, we try to pump a little more water in. And it's kind of amazing. This thing holds like a couple of gallons of water. It holds a lot of water. And we could fill these things, at least last winter, we were filling them twice, sometimes 3 times a day. Yeah, the sump pump thing is running again, meaning that more water has gone through the humidifier. The sump pump failed. We had all sorts of weird stuff happen. The sump pump failed, and the water was flowing through the humidifier, such as it was, and just getting all over the floor. We had a flood, basically. It was important to get that fixed. Seems to be working okay. At least it's making noise. Painting, saving the edges. I hope I remember them, because it tends to be the most likely place where I'll stick my finger. Did manage to just touch this paint just a bit ago, a little bit on there. Fortunately, I didn't spread it around, at least that I know of. usually like to get at least, not all of them, but some of them, at least one on the top. So when you look down on it, you can see 10 blocks as well. This next wall, I might actually do 2. Okay, so we'll check to make sure. Here. We'll do these 2. Do just these 2 next to each other. Yeah, that should be okay. I'm tempted to do one over here. Seven on this one, but it's really quite a large. I mean, it's a large wall. So the corner block wall. So this is a good humidifier, or at least it's supposed to be, because it pumps water into the air. The fan just running, even if the heat's not running. Otherwise, the moisture would come and go depending on whether the heat was running or not. At least that's what's supposed to happen. And I think it has, because I felt it at the registers. Felt it coming out. Let's see. So now I need to mark these easy. These 2 are easy. This one is the 3rd row down. 2 blocks in. And then on the bottom, this one, the 4th, 2, 3. You can see it's smaller on the front here because it goes under the floor, but on the back it's bigger. So you need to be careful with that. I'm noticing the brush tends to spread out toward the right. You got a little bit of paint there. I'm not going to bother with that. Real spot, but it's just something to be aware of as I'm brushing this. Nothing. Repeat that. These bumpy stones, the rough stone, really takes the wash really well, and it brings out. I mean, you can't really see it because it's very flat with a single color, but with the wash on it, it brings out a lot of the texture. And these walls in particular, the rough stone come out looking really good. The cut stone doesn't have that much texture. So the wash still makes a big difference in terms of making the stone look a little lively, but it's not nearly as dramatic as it is with the rough stone. But you'll see that when Mickey is going to do the wash. It's not that good at getting it to look uniform. But we'll see. I might give it a go when the time comes. Evening up some of the edges of the stones. So that one's done. Put that there. And we've got this double door. So we'll grab some. Those are good spots. That might just be enough there. I think I'll do the top here. Do this side and then mark the other side and do that. Okay. Doing this one. Okay. This one here. And one above it on the inside there. This side, we're doing the second row down. So this particular set, I think I'd mentioned before, is the one that has the pool in the middle. It was actually a script and has been taken over and is being used for me, probably necromancy, most likely. Maybe blood magic. There's this pool in the center. Pull that out next because it's mostly floor, but the rim of the pool we have in the past put accent block colors on some of the blocks on the rim of the pool. And I'm going to do that again because that's what we've done in the past. And if it ends up not looking very good, then we'll just paint before putting the wash on, just repaint it with the base blue color. But that will be the last part of this set. I think I'll look around again, make sure I got all of the rough stone blocks before I stop and move on to something else. So the outside of this. I've gone out of my way to not paint the edges first, because that's usually where I stick my fingers. I'm going to do those last, and hopefully will manage to avoid sticking my fingers in this one when I do the one on the top. Let's see how successful I am at that. Yeah, so there's the double doorway. There. And the last part is this bit here. This is the rough stone, you can tell from the floor. And this is the rim of the pool. And I am going to paint some of that. What I'm doing is I'm checking to see if there are any more rough stone walls. And everything that's left is cut stone. The cut stone one is, oh, I found it. There's another inside corner. Stuck onto one of the others, and I didn't see it. All the rest of the cut stone set is huge. So to squeeze out some more of this paint, I'm going to do one of these. Really kind of wanted to get the whole stone one finished. This inside corner is different. The stones are not the same all the way around. All of the other ones are full, but these are like halves, which makes it a little more interesting. Comes out. So, the pattern just looks a little more interesting this one. Like it's a slightly different print than the other one was. But I'm slapping the paint around, so I'm gonna have to do some touch up with the blue on this one. It doesn't look that good, so I'll pull the blue out again just one last time. But I'll be able to do a couple of cut stone ones too, before the paint runs out. Here's a few of these. I'm just going to kind of grab them. Paint these in. As I said, see how it looks. If it looks good, we'll leave them. If not, we'll get the blue out and paint over them and put the base coat back on again. But we did this on the original ones that we did when we were prototyping all of these sets. Yeah, good thing I'm getting the blue out later because I got it on the edge. Figured I probably would. If I get too much of this on the bottom of it, but where it touches the floor here, real likely that I'll get. I mean, it looks like okay, but then I look at it from the top and it's not. So that'll require some touching up. Easier coming at it from the bottom than it is from the top, than the inside and the outside. That not be quite as careful as I might, because I know that I just need to repaint that. Be handed. We'll come from this side and then flip it around and come at it from the other side. But I was going to take a pretty long break, like around 12:30ish, maybe finish the show early. So I think what I'm going to do is actually do the stream early today. I'm going to finish this. So finish painting this base color and the accent blocks on this. I'll pull out the blue paint and do the necessary touch-up, which is significant. So it's blocked. I'm going to actually take the time then to clean up the bottle cap, the blue paint bottle cap, which is all gummed up and making it difficult to open it and close it. And then it's probably a good time to break then, because I'll have done the rough stone set. And then I can come back on Friday and spend the entire time finishing the cut stone accent blocks. There, that needs touching up for sure. It was just a paint area that was missed. I didn't even see before when I did that touch up. A little bit, getting all over the brush. Hands getting a little shaky. So yeah, what I'm going to do is probably another 10 minutes or so is I'm going to finish this up. Clean it off. This is drying because it does need to dry. I'm going to fix the bottle cap on the blue paint. And then I'm going to come back and do the necessary blue touch-up, which is considerable along the bottoms here of the stones. And in a few other places, like here and there, that I had missed when I did the touch-up earlier. So let that soak for a bit. Make sure I am not missing any of the rough stones, and that I've only got cut stone left. Right, I am looking at all of them. There we go. That soak. Let this dry. This needs touching up too. And what I'm going to do is get out the X-Acto knife. Clean off this bottle cap because it's really not good the way it is. It's basically the grooves, top and the grooves are just all gummed up. And it's hard to screw it on. And then the paint dries underneath it. And it's next to impossible to get it off. So while that brown is drying, I'm going to be scraping paint off the screw grooves of this lid here. And then after I do the touch-up with this blue, we're going to call it a day because it's a real good break point. I will have completed the accent colors, and I'll show them to you before we stop, of the rough stone set. Really. The easier if it dries, because then it just kind of cracks off. This stuff is just sort of just in its rubbery state. Paint on there, especially right here, where the bottom part is around. Really gummed up. This isn't very exciting, but I need for that brown paint to dry so I can do the touch up without it just splitting all. So this is something to do that I needed to get done. Waiting for paint to dry. Yeah, not cutting myself. That's much better. It's still a little sticky, but not nearly like it was. So now I just need to get all this paint off the workbench so it doesn't get everywhere. The almost but not quite dry paint. Okay, so what we're going to do now, it gives this a stir. Dry off this brush. You know, that what brown had caked up on there pretty well. And do the final touch up here. So, wait, that come from? Looking up this one because I got paint. I don't know how this happened. And it just, either the paint was too liquid or the brush, I just wasn't holding the brush right or something. But the brown got down into the space between way deeper than I want it to be. Paint around the edge of the box there. Here as well. Just the boundary line. Yeah, so this one was kind of messy. I'm not sure how it got to be quite so messy. It wasn't that much of it, but it's like every part of it was messy. And now it looks messy. just check around one more time, make sure that I've got it's touched up. And I'll put this over in the finished pile. Okay, now we're going to do this. And the first thing I'm going to do is there's areas like around here that weren't painted to begin with. And there's a spot there. There's just some spots that the touch-up didn't touch up. And I'm going to catch those first. And then I'm going to, I just got, as I went around, you can see where the paint got down on the bottom where it shouldn't be, both on the inside and the outside. So I'm going to take this brush and just paint up to the boundary line. If it's up on the blue, a little bit on the side of the brown, I think that's okay. But if the brown shows on the bottom, then it looks messy. The thing I'm doing is getting rid of the brown that had gotten down to the horizontal part of the surface, which is, as you can see, considerable. The inside eventually wouldn't show very much because the pool liquid will come up to this edge, but you never know, it might show. That's that. Now I need to do the outside. Start here because that's where I am at. The same sort of thing. It's okay if the blue goes up a little bit on the edge of the brown, but it's not good if the brown is down on the bottom. You can see that just is not good because that's very easy to see. It's not very easy to see up on the vertical edge. It's also very hard to paint the brown onto it without getting down on the bottom there. So we're just doing this touch up here. Okay, one more here. Just look around one more time to make sure I haven't missed, like there's one. Missed some of these gaps between the blocks. That I want to be dark. And go around the outside. Okay, pretty well. So we'll cap this up, which works much better now that there isn't paint all over the place. Wipe this brush off, and you know, we're going to end the stream kind of early today because this is a good breaking point. If I got started on the rest of these, I'm not sure how far I could go. And besides, whatever it is in the air is making me hard to breathe. So anyway, I'll be back on Friday, 10, maybe not going until 2 Friday. I don't know, depending on what there is to do. Might do paint the cauldron in to decide on what color to do that. There's a lot of these cut brick walls. So I'm thinking that are going to take quite a while. So thanks for joining in, those of you who did. Those of you who are tuning in after lunch, I'm sorry that I'll be missing you. But yeah, it's just what we're going to be doing today, is taking a little break and ending a little bit early. So let me show you what we've got. I can show you. These are all of the cut stone See, there's a lot of them. And the walls all need to have their accent bricks colored. And here, there in the distance, are the rough stone blocks. Oh, and there's one next. This one is the cut stone. This goes with the other set. That was a sample I did. Yeah, these are all the rough stone blocks that go to the crypt necromancer lair, including the pool. So back down here, this other set is really cool. We've got the cauldron in the middle. We got the sigils. I might, on Friday, I think we'll do a full show. I'm going to look at the ones that we did before, because the color pattern to the fire, we worked on that. It came out really well. And there's 3 of these, and I might just go ahead and paint those before we do the wash, okay? Because I want to get around the rim here, the metallic part of the rim. And as I do that, almost certainly I'm going to get paint onto the cut blocks around it. And when I do that, I'm going to have to get the blue paint out and touch up again. And we don't want to do that after the wash is done. So we've got these 3 of these. And between now and then, I'm going to check out the color pattern. Yeah, and paint those in, because then they will look cool. Okay, well, thank you for joining in. And I hope you join us on Friday, 10 o'clock, more or less, depending on whether there's another update of the software that will keep us from starting on time. Probably go close to 2 on Friday to get this all stuff done. Yeah. patreon.com/diceanddungeons. If you like what you're seeing, please support us there. patreon.com/diceanddungeons. And also join us for our stream, Twitch stream of our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which goes out on Sundays at 2. Join us on social media and basically watch us, relax with us, laugh with us, and if you can, support us as well. So thank you again, and we'll see you Friday.